This is Aaron Levine, LG Insurance Agency, here on another great episode of the Who You Work With Matters podcast, hanging out with my friend Mark from Diamond. Oh man, I can't even get the name of your companies right because, well, the main company, Diamond Trading Group, right? I got it. I knew what it was, but you have a few entities and we're going to get there. And we have one of your guys in the studio right now behind the camera hanging out, Erwin from Diamond Appliance Group, which is where we initially connected, which is super important. We're going to get to that. So, Mark, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's great to connect. It's great to learn a little bit about you beforehand. I'm excited. Like, you have so much energy, and I'm trying to keep you from talking right now. That you just bring the room with you. You bring everybody in the room to your level. Great excitement, great energy. And you have a lot of passion for what you're doing. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Spend that 90 seconds and give me some background.
Aaron, thank you for having me. Very kind of you. Thank you for the kind words. I love what you're doing as well. It's a pleasure to be here. So I Brooklyn boy, born in Brooklyn, New York. Grew up always that wild guy in school, right?
You're one of those.
Always very high energy. Family of 5. Grew up in a great household. And I ended up moving to New Jersey just about close to 2 years ago, and was a big move in my life. And really what
was it? What was a driver to get you out of Brooklyn into Jersey? You already had kids starting to grow up in Brooklyn. You just needed more space. You needed to get away.
The truth is that I wanted to get somewhere.
Okay.
And I went through at the beginning of my career. I started in the insurance industry.
Okay.
Which I thought I was going to stay in forever. My first job was cold calling, literally a stack of papers and a phone. The guy's like, here.
Does anybody do that anymore? Is there such a thing? Like
they should.
Do kids that are out hustling and starting their careers in any type of sales oriented business, are they actually cold calling, or are they like texting on Instagram and like they're using social to try to generate opportunities?
We push it tremendously. I believe in it wholeheartely.
Nice.
It's where I started, and it's what I've been through a lot in my career. I started in the insurance industry and went through a series of different jobs in between that, and worked for family business for some time. And I transitioned a lot, but everything that I did was, I had to build up from the ground.
Right.
And so I always had that, I guess, that chip on my shoulder. I got married at 23 years old. I had my first kid at 25. And
you're only 30.
And I'm 33. I'm 33. But it was the beginning. In the beginning of my life, when my life started, I lost my mom really young.
Okay.
I lost her when I was 22, right when I met my now wife. Same time. She didn't get to meet her.
Right.
And it was my life went through, I guess, major cycles, right? And that was a major cycle in my life because I lost my mom, but I'm now meeting a new girl, starting with a new family. And now I'm getting married. But at the same time, I was leaving the insurance industry and kind of figuring out what I was going to do.
Right.
Because I didn't feel like the insurance industry was fitting me anymore. I was going to figure out what I was going to do. So I was really juggling in between, and I was getting married. Plus, I lost my mom. So it was a very big transitioning time. Really, I knew, especially growing up, my dad was a very hard worker. I watched my brother work very hard. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, but she always just worked her ass off for us.
So are you smarter than everybody? You're working less than they all did?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
We grow up, right? Like, okay, we're going to work smarter, not harder, right? Everyone's like, say, work smarter, not harder. I think it's bullshit because you have to work harder and smarter at the same time.
You nailed it.
To build and grow, right? But the bigger you get, the more you work. We've talked about that on the show quite a bit. A clip showed up on our Instagram today from interviewing a guy named Toby Stark, a good friend of mine he's in the insurance business. We were talking about Ray Dalio, and his book Principles. And Ray talks about, he would work 40 hours in his business and then he'd work another 40 hours a week on his business. So his average work week was 80 hours a week. I'm like, I don't want to work that fucking much. But at the same time, I'm still putting in 60 hours by trying not to work that much. So it's impossible to get away from it until you can get some of the right people in place to help make those moves on your behalf, which is pretty important. But we'll get to that. Keep going. Keep building me up. Where we get into
I went through a period where I was working in a family business,
right.
And also right when I had my first kid, very tough working family and business. I was working with my brother. We had the same vision.
What was the family business?
Electronics.
Okay.
Buying and selling electronics. He started the business. I was transitioning at the time, and I came in to work with him. But it was very, very hard. We both had the same energy, so we realized we had to go our separate ways.
You didn't have both sides of it. You were both the same
person. Yeah, it's very same person, but just different ways.
Right.
And then, so this is really where things really took off. So I was about to have my second child, now looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine was coming to me and said, "Listen, man, come. I'm starting my business is still young. Okay, he's a houseware manufacturer. My business is still young. Come work with me." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not coming to work with you.
Right.
I just left my brother. I'm like, I'm not getting into working with my best friend right now." I ended up going work somewhere for a couple of months. I did very well there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, cold calling, grinding. And then he said, "Listen, man, I need you. You got to come. I'm telling you. Watch." So I decided to go and work with him because there was a lot of opportunity and he was looking to grow. That was in 2019.
Okay.
And then, I was supposed to hit a certain number in sales. I believe it was like $1 million for my first year. Right. Did that in 2 months. We were really starting to catch steam. It was a good start to the year. Then next thing you know, March 2020, COVID. What the hell are we gonna do? I'm like, all right. It was unbelievable because we were having such great synergy at the time. So we're like,
right.
All right, we're just gonna bring in masks, right? China.
You were one of those.
I was pretty. Who the heck wasn't? It was crazy. I was selling people from all over the place at that time.
I wasn't, but I had people calling me like, "Hey, we got this contract with this hospital. They need a certificate of insurance. Can you insure us for selling masks?" And I'm like, "I have no freaking clue." And we insured like one company for selling importing and selling masks. Then all of a sudden there was 5,000 cases of masks sitting on shelves all over the United States.
Crazy. Telling you. And it was the crazy time, but it brought me back to my business. So the business that I was in before was buying and selling electronics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got into some different items at the time, but I was in the world of buying from here, selling to here.
Right.
Building relationship on the vendor side, customer side, and connecting product in between. That was what I was good at.
Mm-hmm.
This bit, the mask thing really got me right back into my old industry that I was with my brother. So I started doing that. I started getting to that back into my business, into the older business, which is electronic trade, slowly. And then me and my friend look at each other and said, "Listen, let's open up a company." I was out of my non-compete. It was time. So we said, we're going to open up a company. We're going to start trade, buying and selling. And it started with electronics, got pretty much all my contacts. I really re-engaged with all my old contacts and really went after it and just build my name out there again. Boom, boom, boom. Use LinkedIn, which I think it's hard. This is a platform that I think personally has transformed everything I've done. Everything that I've been into, it's brought me success, and I've really been able to engage on it tremendously over the last 5 years. And we started Diamond Trading Group, and I started reconnecting with all my people and starting from the ground and grinding, one deal after another, one deal, compounding. And side note, as an entrepreneur, you could start making a little bit of money, but once you start getting carried away with that money, that's where your downfall is, right?
Right.
Financial management is a very huge part of building a business.
Mm-hmm.
You have to allocate it correctly and manage it correctly.
Sure.
And I always believed in that. And we just kept reinvesting, and we started to really build. But the business is just buying and selling of product. We don't carry inventory. We don't have a huge overhead of employees. I have one person who Zuki, who's now become my partner. He's
Mhm.
he's a partner in the business now. He started as a sales guy 4 years ago,
Right.
and he's really running the sales and purchasing. And we work with a lot of brokers across the country, work helping them connect deals and things like that. But I realized that I have a real passion for investing
Okay.
and M&A and businesses and understanding different businesses. That's what I loved about insurance, because I would go and
Mhm.
meet with different business owners and learn about different businesses.
Right.
And you know, maybe you've noticed this while sitting in, but I'm ADHD, ADD, ADHD, LMNOP,
You have all the
QRS,
letters?
WXYZ, you name it. And I knew this when I was a kid. I realize it now how powerful it is if you just
Sure.
harness it correctly. Um, and it's definitely, but when you start to build and you start to build and you start to really start to see money, making money, and the fruits of your labor really coming, you cannot get blinded.
Right.
I don't care how much money you
But
make.
you said, so you used a great word. You used the word learning
Mhm.
just a little while ago. I love meeting with different companies and learning about what they're doing. Right. So if you're taking that time to learn, you can then relate that to something else, right? You can make that deeper, better connection. It's funny. I read picked up on an article today. It was from 2007. In 2007 in Germany, there was a famous bank heist. And the way the story goes is the diamond trader started to was going into the bank on a regular basis, became friends with all the employees of the bank and the tellers, and would bring treats, and he was just acting as a diamond trader. Over the course of a year, he became so trusted, he was able to walk into the vault, steal $28 million worth of diamonds, and then vanish. Right? So as a criminal can gain so much trust in people, right? It's not about being a criminal, but it's about the time game of learning and understanding people's operations. And so that you can then infiltrate is not the right word. Like that's like such a negative connotation, but you're then able to create that relationship of trust and then be able to do more when it comes down to getting to business and doing work with somebody. So I love that word, learning about other businesses. And as you're continuing to grow your organizations, right, you're learning and you're connecting different dots along the way. How can I make this better? Right. And maybe it's make it better for me, but how can I make it better for somebody else? How can I make it better for them? Right. And then it comes back to you it comes back to you in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, so there was a point when I first started Diamond Trading Group. I never read books. I was terrible in school. Terrible in school.
But now you're an avid reader.
I wouldn't say I'm avid. I was more avid. So I would say that I was much more avid when I was traveling in and out of the city, because
Okay.
when I was living in Brooklyn, I was traveling in and out of the city, so I used to read a lot more. But I read like right now I'm reading a book on John Rockefeller that's taken me forever.
Okay.
But I chop at a couple chapters a weekend. But
you're physical book.
yeah,
in
I don't.
hand.
I'm one ear out
the
the other if I'm listening to the audio book. Because I also when you're reading it, you're
Right.
actually ingesting it.
Okay.
And I mean, really, there was a book that sparked me. So the first book I probably read since third grade. It was a book by Steven Schwarzman. It's called What It Takes. Steven
Okay.
Schwarzman is the founder and CEO of Blackstone, co-founder and CEO of Blackstone, chairman now. I don't know. It's just a book on how he started his journey building
Right.
now a company that manages over $1 trillion a year. Um, this book sparked me. I don't know.
Was there something specific in the book, or is just the overall general theme?
I think it was the overall general theme, but also, but I think that
it was
also
a theme plus timing.
I
right?
think it was timing, because it was also the beginning of when I was starting everything.
Right.
It was really, really, there was a lot of transitioning going on at the time. Like it was again, it was coming out of COVID. It was a whole new world, and I was really finally getting my business started, because I always had a vision, right? I always had an idea, right?
Right.
Of what I wanted to do. And I just stuck my toe in it.
Right.
And this book about somebody who was able to accomplish so much in so many different areas, in the financial industry, which I always loved, right? Because again, I
Mhm.
started in insurance and financial services, so I
Right.
always loved that. But because of the diversified role that you play in working and managing and helping different businesses manage their money and consumers, and it kind of got me also thinking like, okay, I'm buying and selling stuff all day, right? I I know I really really think I love going into other businesses and really figuring out a solution for them.
Mhm.
And I love that he was doing M&A advisory, right? And M&A advisory is kind of like what I do, right? You find the product, you find the customer, you find the company
Right.
to sell, you find the customer to buy, and you connect the two. So I started to study up on it.
Okay.
I started to study up on it, and it started to lead me into different types of M&A investing, and then there was venture capital, private equity, and I read up all on it. And I realized that I realized that the business that I'm building, I'm just going to start to build it up, keep
Mhm.
reinvesting into it, and keep taking more of those profits and reinvesting into accelerators
Okay.
for what I'm
So
doing. Because
is it what you want to, right? You know what you want to invest in, you know what direction you want to go into, or is it more, oh, this just happened, this could be cool, right? Because you have an idea and you nurture that idea. Or, I mean, you've got 10 ideas a day. You probably have 100 ideas
yeah,
a day running through your head, right? So, how do you pick which ones? Like what's your process to figure out what the next opportunity is, what the next vertical is, right? What made you decide to go into the retail wholesale appliance business also, right? So, I know you've got that business going on because that's how we originally connected. Um, so where did that come out of, this whole thing?
so it's very similar to what we do,
Okay.
right? Consumer electronics. We also deal with a lot of the same brands. Um, and I had my partner Sean, who's been my friend, also another one of my best friends who I'm partners with. Has been in the business for 15 years, and he was working at a company, but he always was going to go out and do something on his own.
Right.
We always spoke about doing things together when we were younger, and again, part of the vision.
Love that.
It's kind of manifested,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just manifested itself. And it's actually my partner, my partner Albert, who came to me and said, "Listen, why don't you start an appliance business with Sean? Why don't we do it? Why don't we try and do it?" I said, "Yeah, maybe this, that." I was still working in the city at the time. Sean lives in New Jersey. And then about a year later, I ended up buying a house in New Jersey and moving out there. A lot of my family was moving out there during the time around COVID. A lot of my family moved out, and and I always wanted to try it. So I ended up buying a house, and then we were still growing the trading business, and we've done a couple of venture investments. But this was the trading business only brings it's deal by deal. It's a deal business.
Sure.
That business is a cash flow business, and Sean, nobody knows it better than him. And I also realized it'll give us access to direct brands, give us
Okay.
access to things like that that can feed the other business. I'm all about building synergies within the
Got it.
companies, right? We partnered together. It's been a little over a year now, and we're growing rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like we try to really bring it accelerate each business accelerates off the other. We get customers from one another. We exchange resources amongst the teams and things like that, which is great, which is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that my biggest itch is getting ahead of innovation,
Okay.
because I have, again, I there's goals that I have. I know that after all this learning that I've done, all these books that I've read, I know that if I really want to get somewhere,
Right.
I really got to go after it.
Okay.
And so I've always, how do I say this? I've always felt that you know that this thing with Sean would probably be the next step to accelerate what I've been looking to do, because I've been yearning for something. There's nothing that I was, we just started this business, but I needed to diversify out.
You needed something you could touch.
I needed something I could touch, but also I needed something to accelerate that business, because
Right.
that business primarily is just buying and selling product. We're an online sellers.
Mhm.
We don't sell on Amazon. Our customers are Amazon customers. We deal with retail customers, e-commerce. We're not going to compete with you. We're only here to service you.
Right.
Right. So it was another outlet for that. Now we're building an online website where we're selling on our own website. We're selling on different marketplaces, and we built a big business with builders,
Mhm.
hospitals, designers,
Nice.
and it brings opportunities from both ends,
Right.
because we're sourcing a bunch of other stuff here, and this is bringing us. This can also bring opportunities there, and
Mhm.
they're slowly working into each other. But my biggest thing right now is really trying to take what we're building, find other things that can help us get ahead,
Mhm.
but also not monopolize the space, right? But we want to be the go-to. We want to be the end-to-end solution,
Right.
because we also realize that there's so many challenges in the appliance industry. Like the logistics isn't easy. White glove service, door to door, carrying these big refrigerators to the house. It's not easy. Installing it correctly,
Right.
the repair and service side, the service side is a big need. So that's the next thing I
Tell
want
me,
to tackle.
tell me about it. I know it because my appliances break all the time.
Yeah.
So
You know,
I've got those big fancy appliances, and that you can't just take out and go buy a new LG refrigerator.
it's funny.
For
All my
$3,000.
appliances went out the second I started this company. But you good?
So if you had to build a playbook, right? So if you're building a playbook for the last 7 years of your life and you wanted to hand it to somebody, what advice is in that playbook for somebody young that wants to get into a certain space and be an entrepreneur and be a connector and build something with related businesses? How would you relay that message to somebody?
I'm going to tell you, Aaron, is not really a clean answer. A lot of I read on pretty much every person
Right.
who's made over $1 billion at this point, as many of them as I can. There's 3,000 billionaires in the world. I've probably done
They
research
all have books?
on as many, not all their books, definitely not all their books, but you try to catch you try to get a little tidbit of what each
Sure.
has done. Everybody has a lot of things that you hear is passion, vision,
Mm-hmm.
hard work,
Right.
and optimism, right?
Mhm.
Those are your real, but it really starts with you,
Right.
right? First and foremost, it's true belief in yourself, right?
Right.
It's also, I mean, look, I was never somebody who believed in vision, this, seeing this, that, but it's true. You have to really know what you want, right?
Right.
And you want to know something also. It's taking me a lot of time. You're still putting the pieces you're always putting the pieces
Sure.
together, but you got to be willing to do the work. You got to be willing to adapt and switch and
Mhm.
you got to be stubborn on what you want to accomplish. You
Mhm.
have to be. It lacks today, right? It does lack today. I think that it's in the newer generation, there's so much ease in this world today with technology, right? Especially with what's going on with AI today, that it's kind of taken away from that hard work,
Mhm.
hustle, grind, do whatever it takes. And there's a subject, work-life balance, right? I mean, I think Bezos says it. There's work-life harmony, I guess, right?
Correct.
It's very, listen, I'm a dad. I got 3 kids. I got another kid on the way. If you're really trying to build something great and you're doing it for them,
Mhm.
trust me, they will understand. As long as you're that great dad to them when you're around and try to be there for them as much as possible, but you're also setting that example.
Right.
Trust me, you're doing a hell of a job. But it's hard when you're trying to build something great to have your mind not have your mind on it all the time, especially when you're in the beginning.
Sure.
You know,
Especially in the beginning, those first couple of years require significantly more nurturing, just like our children do.
100%.
Right. And work life. I giggled and smirked when you said work life balance because I knew where you're going with it. Right. I don't believe there's no such thing as work life balance, but it is creating a harmony. And sometimes in the period of a year, you're going to spend a little bit more time at work. Other times you're going to take that time off and spend more time with the family. It's flowing with where you need to go, but you can't leave one, unattended for too long, because you're gonna lose it, right? So
100%.
you have to not balance it, but harmonize it is a great way to look at it. And I like the way you say that. Listen, there's no real playbook. You have to go after it, and you have to believe in yourself to want to be able to go after it. And if you have that idea to take that risk and to potentially take that leap, and you look at like a Gary Vaynerchuk talks about side hustle. Do your side hustle until you can make enough money at your side hustle so that it can become your main hustle. Right? I love that. That's great advice for anybody. And I don't have a problem with anybody that I work with or spend time with or that works for me. If they want to have a side hustle, I encourage it. I'm all about it. Can't affect their day job, but I'd love to be able to help somebody build a side hustle from that 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. of when they're going to put that additional time in. You got to put in the time for that side hustle, but then you get to test it without much risk. So, the opportunities of side hustles. And then there's I think there's a guy that wrote a book about, there's like a side hustle Bible out there, like 1,000 different side hustles. Sure. James Altucher, one of my favorite podcasters and authors, he talks about the side hustle too, is really cool. But you touched a few times on the whole theme of the podcast show, the who you work with matters, right? I believe heavily in the different who's people in our lives, from growing up as, having mentors and different opportunities in business. You mentioned at least 2, if not 3 people that you were very close with that you eventually went into business with in one way, shape, or form, that definitely helped you make certain decisions to get to where you are today. And while you push a lot of emphasis on believing in yourself and going after it, if those certain people might not have been in the place that they were in, certain opportunities might not have been there, and it all changes. So having good people around you is super important. And that's one of the reasons why we run this show, is I get to learn so much and meet interesting people about what you're doing. So I love learning about all of that, and learning about the who's in your life that have helped you, and that might even be the next who's to take you to the next level. So is there anybody else that you might want to mention that you've been working with and that's really pushing you and helping you get to the next step?
Erwin Shave.
You have a young hustler on your team.
We have Erwin, and it's really, you do it for your people too. I mean, it's really the people that you hire that really stick by you.
Sure.
They really drive you. My wife, my kids, I mean, those are definitely motivators and drivers. But it's the people who sacrifice for you,
Mm-hmm.
the people like Erwin and Jack and Sean and Zuki and Albert, and then we got.
So there's all the people that they rely on you for so much, right? And you rely on them, and if you feed that back down the pipeline,
it's that drive. I mean,
it comes back.
Listen, you can't do this alone. I mean, you really can. It's you need the right. Listen, technology obviously is taking place of a lot of things, but you're gonna still need the right people to help you manage all that and make the right decisions. It's truly important. So it's really the people that work with me. It's our customers, it's our vendors, it's everybody who's been a part of the journey with me, and
Right.
it's really supported. But I will say, and this is I'll tell you, I don't know if you'd ever watch this, but there's a gentleman, 2 gentlemen actually. They actually don't even live in the United States anymore. Eli. So one moved from the United States, living in Georgia, and he moved to Amsterdam with his wife. But there's 2 people. There's Gabriel, who was a vendor of mine when I was working at my brother's company. When I started Diamond Trading Group, really, like, before I even had the LLC set up, like, I would just run deals through him.
Right.
And he would just pay me like whatever, like, like I was able to do, like, he would let me make like 100% of the deals, just use his LLC just to move the money through. It was unbelievable how this guy worked. It was amazing. He was amazing. He actually since moved out to Amsterdam. He's running his business out of there. And then there's and he was very supportive. You know, we never met in person.
Okay.
As a person, I never met in person, but we just had a long-term relationship. He was a vendor of mine, always supported my business, and was always just during COVID came. That's how I met him back during COVID, so he was a huge help. And then there's Eli, who is probably one of the most incredible people I've ever met. He lives in Hong Kong. He was a customer of mine.
Okay.
Um, who really very God fearing human being. Straight as an arrow. Did a ton of business with him when I first started my company. Helped me out. I mean, like, dude, are you doing this for you? Or are you doing this for somebody else? Like, how is this guy being so generous?
Right.
You know. Really, he's another person that I could say. And he lived in Hong Kong. I finally had the pleasure of traveling out there, meeting him last year. And that's somebody who really, was, out there hitting the streets of Hong Kong for me. And would do it for free with the
Right.
sweat off his back. This guy,
Right.
like, he was paying for things for the company that I didn't even know. I'm like, what do you mean you pay for that? Don't worry about it, man. But, okay, dude, what about a commission on this deal? Don't worry about it. It's people like somebody like
Right.
that, the guy would literally take his day, okay, and literally take time out of his day and his nights to help me.
Right. I mean, that's a next level of
next
trust,
level,
right?
next
That's
level
a next
person.
level of
Next level
of being that person,
Yeah.
knowing that you will take care of it and understanding and respecting it, and
But how do you
really
know?
taking it. And it's, those relationships are hard to come by, right? They're very, very difficult. Those are the diamonds. Those are the diamonds in your business, which is great, to hear about.
Aaron, let me ask you, how do you think we got these people? How do you think I got in touch with these people? Pure hustle.
Pure hustle.
You have to go out there and hustle. You have to go out there and hustle to find these people that are going to be your ride or die. I think it's considered the Pareto principle, right? 80% of your
Sure.
output. I think it's 80% of your output that brings all your results.
Right.
Right. It's like 20%.
20%.
20.
Yeah.
It's you put the 20% of your output produces 80% of the results.
Right.
I believe that's what it is. Right. And I go 100%. I go 100% because I want to try to do as much as possible. But you got to understand, it's all about compounding. I always tell my guys in the office, stick to goals. Have a number you want to hit every day. Have an accomplishment to hit every day. And I try to share all this. So I'm always studying different things that I can implement and share with my team that I should study back on. And I write a lot of notes.
It's those are, everybody becomes a who, right? Who do you have the ability to reach out to? Do you have enough who's in your downline, in your pipeline? Right? Everything's about people. And if people are going to trust you, they're going to tell their people. And that's where you're going to get the compounding effect of the people. And that's exactly what you've been able to create as you continue to grow your brands and grow your business. Is you have a compounding people effect, for your network that you're then sharing with everybody that works for you and with you, to then continue to grow your people network, because that's all you're doing. You're connecting people with people. I don't care what product you're connecting people with people, whether it's a product or a business, an M&A, a refrigerator, an outdoor kitchen, all the good things that Diamond Appliance Group is selling. If you need appliances, go to diamondapplicegroup.com. I hope that's the right website. If not,
you got it.
We'll find Mark on LinkedIn and get you connected to Irwin, and we'll get your new kitchen and your appliances. And if you're building a high rise, especially, we'll make sure we get you a good deal. Use the luxury group VIP discount, and we'll make sure it's all square for you. Mark, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's great to learn more about you, and I really can't wait to see where you take your businesses next.
Thank you. All right, thank you for having me.
Thanks.